Hey there, hockey fans. Welcome to 97 Octane Hockey, featuring our dynamic trio of hosts, Kirk Morris, Bob Schmidt, and Mike Dursa. The boys are cranking up the heat on Oilers Talk, bringing you the hot takes from power plays to hat tricks, with special guests and insider insights. It's hockey talk that takes the game to a whole new level. Get ready for a wild ride through the highs and lows of Oilers hockey. Buckle up, Oilers faithful. This is 97 Octane Hockey.
Welcome. We're into episode 35 of the 97 Octane Hockey.
Andy mode.
Joined by Bob Schmidt and Kirk Morris, as always. How are we doing tonight, fellas?
I'm still alive, you know. I buckled under the pressure last week, so I had to make an appearance, even though I'm injured. So just like that shot there on Cody Cece's face there the other night.
Oh man, what a warrior, eh? I guess let's start with that. Takes a shot in the face, you know, the cheek's all red, and then comes back out and takes a shot off the inside of the ankle. How do you love that guy?
Let's start with the new introduction there, Dirk. Whoa, what is that? I mean, for a brief second there, I thought maybe I had dialed into a 1-900 number. Nice.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oilers Octane Hockey after dark.
We're big time now, baby. Oh
yeah,
so
Cece, my goodness. Thankfully, whoever shot that didn't get all of it, but even if you underhand toss a puck to your buddy that's 2 feet away and hits you in the face, you're kind of like, well, man, goodness. So, he comes back. Didn't he miss a shift? I saw a post-game photo of him in the dressing room there when they were doing their little team awards, and his cheek was pretty red there. So I don't think he was doing a lot of gabbing. He did miss yesterday's practice. I think they said that Kulak also missed yesterday's practice, so there was 2 D-men short on the practice. They did call up Kemp today for a D-man emergency call up. So he'll probably take one of those guys' spots, I imagine. So I'm not sure what's going on with Kulak. He did play the least minutes of any D-man last game as well. Like Desharnais played more minutes than Kulak did. So obviously he looks like he was fighting something too, maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting. Desharnais has kind of leapfrogged Kulak a little bit with the minutes, and maybe that's all it is just a little bit of owies there for Kulak. So they're just trying to conserve him a little bit. I don't think that the Phil Kemp call up means that Phil Kemp is playing tomorrow night. I think that's just kind of a lateral move just to have another guy here myself.
Just to replace Gleason. Yeah, that's what I kind of got. I mean, perhaps you get a guy out like Cece or whatever, or just takes the night off, says, you know what, just kind of, heal up and save my energy there for Detroit or whatever. But I'm happy for Kemp. He fully deserved it. Like even back to training camp, I thought he was he was not flashy or anything. And from what I've read, in particular there with Bruce Kurlock there, who keeps an eye on all the prospects there on the farm, he says he's got a great hockey mind, great first pass. But his boots are the biggest ailment for him. If he gets a game, good on him. That's all I gotta say. He's definitely earned it for sure.
That frightens me a little bit if he does kind of have to be the guy to step in, because one of the things that I think saves Desharnais often is Kulak does have amazing boots. So
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Now, am I wrong in from what I know of Kemp and Gleason? Like I thought both had good camps this year. I thought they were pretty much on par for what they brought to the table at camps. Are they both a similar type of defenseman that you know of, Kurt? Do they play similar style?
Well, they're like Phil. Like I said, Phil Kemp. From what I've seen and what I've read online, like with the video there, that the limited viewing that I've had, he is not an offensive defenseman. He is a stay-at-home, just rock solid, protect your neck. Just does the little things great. He's definitely not Bouchard. And from what I've seen, like he does pass well. His first pass is pretty damn good, but he's actually what they need right now. Just another stay at home, just take out the trash and don't get too flashy or whatever. And I honestly, I think that's what they need. Like just a bottom pair and D man. Just like I said, take out the trash, clean up, protect the house. And he's willing and able, and the guy can fight too. Like he can throw him down when he wants to. He proved that earlier this year. The file photo actually they used, he was actually, I think he had a fight there. Or he got hit in the mouth with a puck, one of the two. But anyways, he's definitely got grit. That's part of his game for sure.
I might be able to do something with that picture they put up today when we have our new commercial break at 9:00. We're big time today, boys. It's time.
2024 Nights of Octane hockey. New luck.
It's time we picked it up a little bit. We're getting into the stretch drive here too for us. So let's go.
Having said this, like you said, Kurt, that a guy like Kemp might be, his style is maybe what we need. I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm not totally on board though neither yet, because I feel like our defensemen as a whole, especially during this winning streak we're on right now, have been really solid. Like I can maybe pick. I think Bouchard had a bit of a rough game against Philly, and I think Desharnais had a pretty shitty game against LA. Other than that, I think they've all been pretty solid here during this last little stretch.
I'm not complaining either, man. Like the whole decor, like it's just been, especially Darnell Nurse. Like I can't describe enough. Like I've been waiting for him to simplify his game. Just don't get too flashy. Join the rush if you can. Like, and I think when he tries to process everything happening at once, he freezes up and whatever else. And he simplified his game to a point where he looks like the Darnell Nurse of old, like of 2017, like the $9.25 million man that we've been waiting for. But yeah, like like I said again, I'm not complaining. Like the defense as a whole, like even the forwards are being more defensively responsible, and like with their PK, like their PK's just been phenomenal.
I actually have a theory on that Darnell Nurse thing there. Like you saw it so much so in the beginning of the year, like say like McDavid was struggling and then got hurt right off the bat, so then he was faltering for a bit, and the whole team was faltering. Our goalies are faltering, our defense are faltering, and I found that I think Nurse takes his role as a leader on this team extremely seriously, as do McDavid, Nuge, and those guys for sure, Draisaitl. But Nurse is one of those guys who I think feels like he has to do more. So he starts pushing things, jumping up on plays he has no business jumping on, attempting passes that he has no business trying to do, just to force something, just to try and carry the load while we're struggling. And now you see, like, when everybody else has found their game, and like you said, Kurt, Nurse simplified a lot of stuff. He no longer feels the pressure to have to carry the team, through this mud and muck that we're going through. And now he's just kind of, they're all in unison, and in that way, almost Nurse is a leader on the D end, just by simplifying his game and leading by example. And yeah, like right now we're as solid as ever.
he's defending first. Like that's where
Yeah.
his game is starting is on the back end.
Yeah.
I still see him jump up in the play, and I think his decision making there is probably better. But I think he's concentrating on being a defenseman first, and if the offense comes, great. But I don't think he's really salivating to be on offense. I think he's trying to really lock it down as a shutdown D-man, and I think he's doing a hell of a job right now. It's great. I don't really have a beef with anybody on the back end right now at all. I think, yeah, there's been stretches where some bad play, but I don't think there's been full games where a guy's been junk at all. You know, just a couple of sequences, and that's going to happen. As long as they're not junk for complete games, we're going to keep winning.
You definitely notice it there in the switches there in the offensive zone. Like if you see Darnell Nurse or if you see Cody Ceci jump up in the rush, you see that third forward back, you know, just to cover. And then when they go around the world, when they cycle it around, you see him switch it up again and everybody's back in position. Being with that cognizant, you know, like being aware.
Mhm.
It's just like they finally have gotten it, like where everybody's in sync. There's no bad switches. There is the odd play, like, you know, they get caught, you know, flat-footed or whatever, and it's an odd man rush the other way. But that's to be expected. You can't play a perfect game, you know, all game long. Just as long as that's where your goaltending comes in, you know, and you know steals a play here and there for your team, you know, just to, you know, back them up. But overall, they've really locked it down. Like that Ottawa game, like it could have been like what Stewie said there in his post game presser there. He said it could have been 7-0 after the first.
I'm going to touch on this one comment here by Mainlander Tim. Thanks for watching the show. He says, plus it's a nice reward for Kemp's play. NHL practice time and his salary goes from $550 to $4,250 a day. Yeah, that little extra money coming up that doesn't hurt, you know, and practice with the big guys and get your game sharp, maybe get into one and see how you fare and take it from there, and you know, just come up, get some experience and use that.
I think that goes a long way to those guys in Baco too. I mean, that's a bit of a reward for what they're doing down there. I want to touch back again to what Kurt was saying about the guys jumping in and the forwards being aware of it and then covering for it. I think we're seeing that kind of overlapping from the influence of coffee. Because I find, like you were mentioned too, Dursa, how you see Nurse jumping up in the play, but not salivating as much anymore as jumping up every chance he gets. I think Coffee has really worked on their timing of when to jump up in the play, or even their timing on when to pinch, especially at the opposing team's blue line. We're not seeing so many irrational decision making anymore there, or forcing the issue as much. And like we play that whole defensive system where the forwards are aware of when our guys are jumping up in the play and then covering when those opportunities happen. And I would hazard to say that's a lot of Paul Coffey influence going on right there.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I mean, Paul might have been Nurse prior to Coffey coming to teach Nurse, but for large stretches of his career, he loved to jump up. But I think as Paul kind of career, you know, moved on and he got to different teams that weren't as offensively gifted as the Edmonton Oilers of the 80s, he had to adapt his game too. So maybe he's using that to teach Nurse when to go and when to stay. I love that he's becoming that rock solid, you know, defenseman that we all hoped he could be. Still would like to see a little bit more nasty in it, a little bit more bite in his own end, but you know, I guess we can't have Chris Pronger 2.0 because that guy would be going to the penalty box and probably to suspension land a little bit more than he did back then. Game's kind of changed a little bit, but that's the only thing I'd like to see a little bit more out of Darnell is just a little bit more bite.
Yeah, just pick his spots.
Yeah,
you know, give a forearm shiver here or chicken wing there. You know, just to keep him awake. You know, you gotta say hello every now and then. You know, but Yeah, now he can't really do that anymore, unfortunately, because too many eyes in the sky and too many game managers that are not referees anymore. Sorry, Luchansky, but
Yeah,
it's true.
yeah. Ripping the ref, even though we don't have a rip the ref segment. That was funny today in the group chat. Josh started this morning with like heckling ref talk, and to me, my favorite is still I've seen better officiating at a Foot Locker, but oh, we made Kirk lose a lung. He's fighting a little bit of a bug here.
Yeah, just a little.
But he didn't want to go on IR today, so he decided to he was a game time decision, and he's here.
hanging in there, boys.
Playoff Kurt. We got the playoff Kurt.
Did you guys have like a hint of anxiety starting to creep up in that Ottawa game? Like, oh no, here we go. This goalie's going to shut us out and lock us down, or did you think eventually they're going to break through? And
I wasn't too worried personally. Like you always have that feeling, in the back of your mind, you're going to get goalied, and Anton Forsberg being a former Edmonton Oiler who never played a game for the team,
yeah,
it would be totally, on point, just to have him, steal one. But it kind of felt like when we played against New York, the Rangers, I mean, and you had that feeling that something was going to give, and they didn't do anything selfish or foolish on the ice, just like, oh, cough up a puck here, cough up a puck there. Never felt that, never felt that anxiety kick in. And it was in the back of my mind, it's like, oh God, maybe we'll pull a rabbit out of his hat there and literally blindfold us. But overall, I thought when Ottawa scored that junk goal there in the third, I thought that's when it started to kick in. I was like, yeah, here we go. Like it's just one bad bounce and then it's another bad bounce and then here we go.
Yeah,
what do you figure, Bob?
Having an insurance goal there was
big time.
I think 20 games ago, yeah, we all would have done the whole throwing our hands up in the air, going, "Well, here we go again." And we're peppering their goalie, and you got there. He is by definition their backup goalie right now. Here's a backup goalie again, stoning us for another win, making him look like a Vezina candidate. But I did make one comment in one of the group chats I'm in. As I said, that's a backup goalie doing this thing again. But that was all for a comment. I wasn't worried because, like Kurt mentioned, that Ranger game and actually this whole stretch where we've been peppering goalies and the games have been close and all of a sudden we break the dam. And the biggest thing we're seeing is they're not changing anything. They just keep with the process. You don't see Knobloch juggling the lines, just sparking extra off and hope for the best kind of thing. A desperate move. It's just stay the course. We're gonna get rewarded, and they have. And the record speaks for itself. What Knobloch's done by simplifying stuff like that, allowing the lines to get that chemistry, and just staying on course. And we put cracks in the dam, and Forsberg looked like the Forsberg of the Columbus Blue Jacket days.
I probably had this apprehension, and I like to profess that I'm not really superstitious, but earlier this week, Dash on Michael's show, and then he doubled down on it on the Hangout. Came out and said that his hot take is that the Oilers are going to run the table in January, and if you look at the schedule and you just kind of go on who we're playing, definitely looks conceivable, but then. On any given night, these guys could lay an egg or run into a goalie that just stands on his head, or one night they just don't have it. So here we are in this Ottawa game and scoreless, and I'm like, okay, it's coming right off the bat. But to their credit, they stuck with it, and Zach Hyman got it done.
They've got a little bit now. Sorry, say that again, Bob. I walked on you.
I said, you don't see any panic in their game right now. Like from the coaching staff right down to the fourth line, there's no panic. They just keep doing what they're doing. and they know that it'll pay off. And if
Yeah.
it doesn't, whatever, they did their best, right? I mean, you're not for us to run the table in January. Like, yeah, on paper it looks like we could do it, but in all honesty, like you need to lose a game here and there just for that wake up call and to get and to get you that that firecracker up the butt there to keep them. Don't start getting complacent in winning just as much as you don't get complacent in losing.
You know, I didn't look at it, but I almost wonder if they did flat out run the table in January, if that would catapult them to the top of the Western Conference.
Well, from what I heard, they are, was it 5 points behind? I think it's 5 points behind, 5 or 6 points behind LA right now, and they're dead even with games, and they're 10 behind Vegas.
I think it was 10 or 8 points behind Vegas with 4 games in hand, something like that.
Yeah, I heard that on Gregor's show there today.
No, we are right now. We're 12 points behind Vegas with 3 points. Oh, no, we're 10 points behind Vegas with 4 games in hand, and you're right. We're 5 points behind LA with even number of games, which is actually top for the second least game in NHL right now. Only Ottawa's played less games than the Oilers and a handful of other teams.
And how about LA right now? They're stumbling and falling big time. Like, I can't believe it. Like, they lost again last night there against, right at the end there against Washington. Like, they blew it with like 52 seconds to go. And yeah, like it just, if anything, if they do run the table, like if the Oil does run the table this month, it's there for the taking. Like, screw the wild card at this point. Like you gotta make a run up top, right?
Keep pushing, see where you end up. That was my kitty cat Loki. Their Star Wars fans making an appearance, but he's real quick.
9-7 Octane Hockey After Dark now has pussies on there too. Looks like he's
You know, I was going to save this for the end of the show, but that's a good segue into the pussy chat, because I got to say, like, I lost a family member the other day, and you guys know the scene on Boys on the Bus when Marty McSorley's sitting and talking to Kevin Lowe kind of about, their dog that's in this fight with coyotes, and then the dog jumps on this back of this trailer, and Marty's dad grabs the dog by the scruff of the neck and throws it back into the fight. Well, that was my grandma completely. One Friday night, me and my uncle got into a bottle of Johnny Walker Scotch, 80-year-old bottle. And the next day I was not doing well at all. But my grandma knew that 2 friends of mine wanted me to go from Vegreville to Sedgwick and go out with them. And they needed their me to be their, trio. So she made me get up and go to Sedgwick to go out with these 2 guys and do it all over again. So she's the one that made sure I wasn't a pussy.
Nice. There's her legacy. So that's pretty good. So yeah, sorry about that, Durs. That's always tough on losing a family member. Even so, right after the holidays too, that's a tough break. But you know what? Yeah. She had a good run in there, and you're following in the footsteps here right now. So
yeah, she made it 94 years. So she definitely had a good run, and she lived on her own and was still functioning till about a month ago. So yeah, you couldn't ask for more. She lived it to the fullest. So yeah, and she's happy now because she gets to join my grandpa. So wherever they go. So yeah.
Yes, sir.
And maybe on that note, we'll take our commercial break now. I've been more excited about this commercial for everybody to see it than anything. And if you're watching when we get back, tell us what you think. Here we go.
I'm Connor McDavid.
The Edmonton Oilers would like to select with their first pick from the Erie Otters, Connor McDavid.
Under pressure, no more time. Can we make a move? Overthinking, you and I. What do we have to lose? 'Cause I'm wasting all my time thinking of the things we could do. If you gave me one more sign, I could find a way to break through. A way to break through.
Welcome back. That's the fastest commercial, on the internet.
Yeah. I see what you did there. You know what? When his career is done, like his best of video is going to be just insane. It already is. It already is. But it's ridiculous the stuff that we see this guy do. Huh.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's crazy to think that he's been here for 900 plus points already in 7 years or 8 years. Is it 7 or 8 years? I've forgotten how many years he's been here now, but I've forgotten some of those goals, man. Like my favorite though is going inside out on Riley or breaking his ankles and then going over the top there on Hutchinson. Like and then he shakes his hand in the air and just not yet, just that's one of my favorite goals of his, bar none.
Like that, I had to throw in that one against the Ducks in the playoffs, his little stop and go, because that's awesome too. And then the undressing the whole Ranger team. But there's a lot of those same kind of goals. Like it's not just against the Rangers. There's one against the Canucks, the Kings, the Flames. It's unbelievable.
Ridiculous. Yeah. And in big moments, he's had a couple of those in the playoffs too. I mean, he's not just a regular season highlight real guy. Like comes up in clutch situations too, and we'll see it again this year. There's no way we're not making the playoffs this year. There's no way.
Yeah, no.
You mentioned before that, Kurt, was that the Kings were starting to struggle, and I just looked it up here during that commercial break. They won 2 of their last 8 games, and they're in the middle of a 5-game losing streak right now. But another thing to note is Vegas is also struggling. They have won 3 of their last 10. So there's some low-hanging fruit coming up here with our boys streaking and the other guys slouching. The Canucks seem to be the only team right now in that top part of the division that are still holding strong. I watched the game against the Rangers today, and they look dominant actually against a team who should be the best team in the league, and they manhandled them like the Rangers didn't even exist.
The Rangers were terrible against Montreal, and then they were good against Montreal all in the same game, like on Saturday.
Yeah, it was a bit bizarre
Yeah.
world, that's for sure. Just
Yeah.
yeah, but I was just gonna say, like, now is not the time to wobble
No.
because it like you said there, Bob, like it's there for the taking. Like you can gain so much ground, and they don't have the craziest schedule this month either. That's the other kicker. Like you've got a couple day break and then a game and then a couple day break and then a game. And I think their biggest test, believe it or not, and I think they can beat them quite handily, is Toronto. Like just I'm not convinced that Toronto's like they're not 100% overall. And I just like their goaltending, like I just shake my head. It's like, holy smokes, now you're late. Now you're to your number 3 guy in Martin Jones. And he's actually playing decent. Like I'm not, I'm not taking pot shots at Jones per se. Like he's been good in relief, but you should be able to have an upper hand on that game. I could be chewing shoe leather here right after it. I don't know, but for me anyways, like this is a pretty decent month to gain a lot of ground quickly.
One thing I'll say about Toronto is they seem to get up extra for games against us. So
Every team
and
does.
It's in
though.
Toronto, right? It's not in Edmonton. It's in Toronto.
No,
correct?
it's a home game. It's a home game.
Okay.
Yeah, it's our next home game. But like what you said, there's like every gets amped up to play the Oilers because every team is going up against the 2 best players in the world. So you're gonna get fired up for it. We're gonna get their best on almost every given night, and on a game like that, which will be a marquee game on the NHL schedule with the Oilers and the Leafs, and Matthews and Vince McDavid, all that kind of narrative. Both teams are going to be jacked to go. I agree with you, Kirk, with that the rest of the way here, that might be our best, toughest game on paper. Having said that, I think Toronto is a middle of the pack team right now. I don't see them as an elite team. I see them as a middle of the pack team, and all the teams we're going against here the rest of the way are either middle of the pack or lower tier teams this month. Our biggest test on paper was.
Yeah, and like I every time we play Ottawa, they're a stingy team too. Like it just, I don't know, man. It's just like I said, you have the opportunity now to really take a chokehold on what other people, like other teams, are slipping. Like you said, they're Vegas, LA. I don't think Vancouver's wobbling anytime soon, thanks to Demko. Like, but anyways, like, yeah, it's Calgary's playing horrible. Like, it just Seattle's okay right now. They're not the greatest, but right now, like, you're in the wild card spot. You have full advantage. You're playing Nashville here, and I think further on down the road, and that's you could leapfrog over them. So yeah, like it's very, it's an awesome month. You have the capabilities of definitely doing some damage.
It's an awesome month if you take advantage of it, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna quote White Man Can't Jump when I read this. No one wants to get embarrassed by McDavid, so they all bring their A game. Went up against the Oilers from some stranger, and it's like Sidney Dean said: you either smoke or you get smoked, and you got smoked. So you got to be up for those games, or you are.
And they are. As you know, you get to the big leagues because you like to be pushed. You like to go against the best. Going against the best make you better. So mindset doesn't change once you're in the NHL. So these guys get jacked to play against the best player in the game, right? The best couple players in the game. So you're right. You don't want to get embarrassed by them, but you also want to show that you can compete with them. So they're always ready. We might as well be the Stanley Cup defending champions because how geared up teams are for us.
Bobby, I'm going to punch you out for a second and bring you back in.
Yeah, he's a little bit fuzzy there.
Might have helped a little bit. Yeah, there you go. You're a little clearer. I don't know. You're.
Is it the beard? Is the beard fuzzy?
Yeah, the beard. Yeah. The beard is causing interference with your internet a little bit.
Let me throw a question at you boys now. What do you think? What do you think of how do you think Skinner's been, and what do you do with the goalies going here for the next little stretch?
Durst, you want to go first? Because I'll be long-winded about this as usual.
Yeah, no, I think Stuart Skinner's fairly dialed in right now. I don't see a lot that I'm upset with. The one thing I pick up on with him, if I do have a criticism, is he's a little like nonchalant when he goes to collect pucks and make plays. That's my criticism that I've kind of seen a little bit. His puck play could be a little bit more sped up, and but that's about it. That's the only thing I'm seeing, and it hasn't cost him. But he's a little casual going to collect and make his plays.
There's been the odd play where he's just like taking his time,
Mhm.
and I'm not hacking on him whatsoever, because to do puck play and to block a hard rim with your goalie stick is not the easiest thing to do in today's NHL, let alone minor hockey. But I how can I say this? He's been as good as he's been since last year, like even with that long stretch. I think, I don't know, Bob. What do you think about the platooning from here on in? Do you play Pickard tomorrow night, give him an extra rest for Detroit, then play Detroit, play Montreal, play Toronto, and then give him another breather? Or do you just go back and forth, or do you not mess with the winning streak right now and just play him out?
Well, you can't ride him too much. He has elite in my mind right now on this stretch. His last 5 starts have been elite, right? Like I'm a hockey nerd. Like, yeah, that's like spreadsheets and shit like that I have in front of me. Like, just hockey nerd. So on my report cards, I got Skinner having played at elite level here his last 5 starts, which is 9 elite level games he's played this season. So out of 9, the last 5, that's 5 of them have been his last 5 games. So he is definitely finding that groove where he is dialed in, like you say, Dursa, and just in that zone. But he's gonna need his rest. I would like to see Pickard has deserved to have another start for sure here the next little while. I would like to see Pickard, if he keeps doing what he's doing now, why not give him every 4th game? 25% of load here right now. So if we go by that route, I got Pickard starting Detroit. And why not? Pickard used to be in Detroit, so it's a little bit of a revenge game there too, to go against an old team of his, right? And then you got Skinner ready for the Montreal, Toronto, I think it's Seattle, and then Calgary, or maybe even Calgary. Yeah, Calgary. You get Pickard, Seattle, and then Skinner back on Calgary. I don't know, but
Yeah,
I like the way he's in right now. So.
Oh yeah, like, and like that third period there, that charge there, that push there from Ottawa, like it could have turned ugly pretty damn quick, and he just kept, kept holding the fort, so to speak. There, I I still have a list of goalies. I'm going to be writing an article here for Heavy Hockey, and
Woo-hoo!
kind of a wish list at this point, because you don't really want to mess with the team's chemistry right now, even though Skinner's, playing 80% of the games. I still say the drop dead date is the All-Star game for when you should make a move rather than the trade deadline. But when do you throw up the stop sign with your tandem, like the way that they're playing right now? Like even Pickard there, like with the opportunities he's been given, he's played pretty good. I'm not complaining. He's been pretty damn good.
He's very good 5 out of the 6 games. He's been very good. He's had six games he's been in, and 5 of them have been very good. Yeah.
Maybe it was the Tampa game or Florida, the one I was actually at, where one of the goals he just kind of got beat because he's small up over the shoulder. But seeing the replay, I think one of the Oilers kind of skated in front of him anyway, so it was partial screen.
That was the Florida game, yeah.
Yeah. But
he shit the bed the Florida game.
He's been, I wouldn't say that, but he's been serviceable. He's basically, a AHL guy giving you his best, and most nights it's been enough.
And ironically enough, Ollie Rodriguez had a little bit of a wobble there on the farm team, and he still pulled out, a few wins out of his arse. But from what I've read, he's had a little bit of, I wouldn't say regression. Like his save to percentage has dropped to 924. It's still damn good, even for AHL standards. But he has pulled out wins for the team, and it's not primarily on him per se. The overall performance of the team in front of him has been lackluster, so to speak. No offense, but until the other night there, where they literally exploded there in the third period and beat Abbotsford there on their home turf. But yeah, like, do you still just run them out there and not bring them up there, Bob? Or like, what do you guys figure there? Do you still run them out, or do you bring them up for a little bit of a taste here, say like in a couple of weeks, like close to the All-Star break?
Yeah, I still want to see him up there. If he keeps doing what he's doing, so he's got a small regression here, but still winning games. This is also why I didn't want him called up already. Like, get him used to being in the groove of being the starter, right? And then bring him up here and see what he can do. And just for a small taste, kind of rewarding him for the work that he's doing, kind of like what we're doing, like with Kemp and what we did with Gleason or whatever. They just call him up here and get a taste, practice with the big boys, maybe get a game or two. What Rodrigo, I want to see get a game or two in for sure. If you're going to call him up, you might also utilize him. But the one thing this does with Skinner playing the way he's doing, with Pickard playing the way he's doing, it has given us a bit of some breathing space and some pause in all of this emergency. We need a goalie now talk. Now we can be a bit more selective, that Holland and Jackson are out there looking for a possible upgrade, maybe for a 1A, 1B scenario, or just a higher quality backup perhaps. Also, the urgency to call Rodrigue is kind of dying down a bit because we are doing great right now. We're not going to force the issue and possibly crush this kid. So that the overall picture with the way especially Skinner's been playing is actually strengthening the organizational goaltending department.
What do you figure there, Durs? Like, I'm sorry for walking on you here.
No,
but
that's okay.
what do you figure?
I'll pull up this comment by some stranger and then I'll answer. He says, "What message will that send to Campbell?" I think at this point that is probably the least of your worries. I think Jack Campbell has a job to do, and that's to find his game. And if Olivier Rodrigue, is playing at a elite AHL caliber level, then I would like to see him get a look with the big club, just so you know really what you got. But I wouldn't call him up just to call him up. He's got to play, and I wouldn't make any decisions based on one game. I'd give him a couple at least, and then go from there. But yeah, right now, I mean, this team is rolling along, so I don't think you do it right now. And if that's, mid-February All-Star break?
Or
is it later in January here? Yeah, first week in February.
Yeah, I think it's February 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah, I would probably around that time, if you're going to do it, get on it, either then or within about 10 days of that. And then you still got some time before the deadline comes up, and then you can make some decisions of what you need to do. I really, before I was like, yeah, we need a goalie. We need a goalie. We need a goalie. Hebert and Josh, we need a goalie. We need a goalie. I'm glad I'm not in charge of this organization, because I would have made that move for the goalie, and I would have been throwing first round picks to move Jack and to do all this. I still think you got to try to either resurrect Jack, which now I think that's faded into the sunset, or you got to part ways with him. But I don't know if you do that before the summer, when you can, either buy him out or really make a deal there. But wouldn't it be nice to have that, like I said last time, I think we did this, that $5 million that you're spending on him to allocate elsewhere. Like, just think of what this team could be with another $5 million player that's actually playing like a $5 million player. Would be quite a difference. Although right now I was thinking about it, and kind of the talk around is, what would you do if you're GM? What's the move you would make? And before it was, we need to upgrade Cody Ceci was my thought. And now he's settled his game down to a point where I don't think I want to trade Cody Ceci. I maybe you use whatever you can to try to solidify a third line so Derek Ryan isn't your third line center, and you can put him elsewhere in the lineup and have a maybe a little bit more sandpaper. Bukestad back. I mean, that would be something. Versatile guy. And I don't know how long you play Vander Kane on the third line. I think you do it right now because your top two lines are kind of working, but I don't know if that's a forever thing either.
Well, Knobloch said it wasn't. It wasn't. Evander gets a shot in top six. We can't fully expect these two lines to be at the elite level they've been playing here nonstop. We can't expect our team to be playing like this, for an too long of an extended period of time. And going back to what you're saying, Dursa, about calling Rodrigo up, maybe we do it in February, maybe, or what have you. That's a good point. Maybe this is a tool that we use if Rodrigo keeps doing what he's doing during a time where we're a bit of a mini slump. Say we lose 4 games in a row, or 3 out of 4 or something like that, and go, maybe we need a bit of a kickstarter, a wake up call, and bring Rodrigo for 1 or 2 games here, and that'll be kind of something to rally around, right, and build back momentum.
Yeah.
I think you, like I said, you make the drop dead date of the All-Star break, or whether it's before or after. Even during the break there, you talk, you make a few phone calls or whatever. You hit the phone lines warm and see where you stand. Like, eventually getting closer to the trade deadline, more guys are going to be willing to buckle.
Yeah.
But to get rid of Campbell's contract first and foremost, like, that's going to be a steep price in itself, because nobody's going to want to take that contract on. That's kind of part of the article that I'm working on here. Like, what bitter pills would you be willing to swallow to get rid of that $5 million? And it's still another 3 years after this year.
Yeah.
So,
but going back about some strange and what message does that send to Campbell if we end up calling Rodrigo up? I think the message has already been sent to Campbell when they named Rodrigo the starter. I mean, Campbell was given a shot, change his game around, and he did like 3 games, and then just regressed again to doing what Jack Campbell's been doing, and which is unfortunate because everybody loves the guy. I like the guy, and when he's on, he's proven he can be an NHL goalie. He just hasn't proven he can sustain it, and right now that's what we need is somebody in net, and Jack Campbell is not that answer. So, barring a miracle, Jack Campbell's days as an Oiler are definitely done.
Yeah. Another comment from some stranger. He says, wait and see if Nashville slips out of the playoff spot before talking to them about Saros.
The thing is, what do you give in return for Saros? I would love to have Saros. I'm a Saros fan. I think he's one of the top 5-6 goalies in the NHL. And I think he takes over the starting job if he comes to Edmonton. But what do you give up for a guy like Saros? And how much salary are you going to ask Nashville to retain?
He make that deal now, because he's kind of had a little bit of a skid the last couple of games.
Well, not only that, like what Bob said there, like, what's the message if you get a guy like Saros, what's the message you're sending to Stuart Skinner? Like, that could hurt his confidence though too. Like, you're basically plucking his wings, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, the name of the game is winning. Like, as long as whoever's playing in that is winning, nobody's going to care. But when you have that wobble, like you see with Saros right now, that little dent in your confidence or whatever, and it just starts chipping away. And then you got to hand it all back over to Stewart, say, hey, bail us out again, like you've always been doing, and he fails. It could, Dutch door action can turn around and screw you, right? So I don't, and Trotz has vehemently said he's not trading Saros. Like, I love the goaltender too. He's very athletic. He's very mobile. He'd be perfect for the Oil, but once again, like, what would be the asking price? Just it'd definitely be a couple number ones, our first rounders, I would say. Like, if not, probably something big in return, because 3, yeah, and they probably would want Rodriguez in return as well.
I'm thinking you're parting with 3 first if you're including Jack Campbell in that.
Yeah,
I don't know if you get Rodriguez back in return there. Kirk, I don't know if they go for Rodriguez because you already got a young stud in Askarov coming up too for Nashville. So
yeah,
I'm not sure they're
you can never have enough goalies though, too, right? So
no,
unless you're in Edmonton,
yeah,
or Toronto.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it would be prospects and picks galore. Like, it just, I would honestly spend that money elsewhere. I would. Yeah, I can't say anything right now because it'll screw up my article, but I just don't want to let the cat out of the bag and say, here you go. But yeah, like there's there's cheaper options that I think are just as good or even better. I hate to say it. And they're short-term solutions. It gets you to the summer, and then from there you can either, do A, B, and C that way, and then or you could have Rodriguez there as a 1B next year. Like, you kind of gotta kind of see what next year's gonna hold, right? I it's probably putting the cart before the horse, but you gotta you don't want to make a knee-jerk trade, a la Chiarelli, and then wind up even further down the hole.
There's one thing that Ken Holland hasn't done is knee-jerk reaction trades.
No,
thank goodness.
Thank goodness is right. Some stranger says you guys trust Skinner in the playoffs. I'll go on this one first. I think he deserves another look at it. It's not like he's been in 10 playoff series and shit the bed every time. It was his first go at it. So I'm willing to think that a guy can learn from his experiences and do better the next time. Yeah, I'm okay with him being the starter, starting the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm okay too. Like, he, once again, the term is load management, and you get to the finish line there of the regular season, and then it's like, oh, hey, you've got to play 4 games in 6 nights or 7 nights or whatever it is, or how many other, extra games you're going to have to play and ride that pony even further into the ground. That's where you acquire a 1B goalie to kind of shore up that load management, because the last 2 months of the season, it's going to be painful for the Oilers. Like, they've got, I think Gregor said 8 back-to-backs after this month, like to the end of the season. Like, you're gonna have workload. Like, you're gonna have to split up all that work. Like, and when you do get into the playoffs, do you ride Skinner into the ground even further, or do you split up the games? Like, that's where getting that 1B, like, just, I don't know. It's a crapshoot in itself, but do I trust Skinner? Yeah. Well, he's had that experience from last year, and he's going to have that little chip on his shoulder, especially if we play against LA again. Like, I could see it, a three-peat here with LA
and Vegas. Really, he got pulled multiple times in that series.
Yeah, I think having that experience, even like the guys like in 2017 with McDavid and Draisaitl, and then Yasher and all that experience, it adds up over time. It's like, it's definitely a cachet in your bank, like, that you can, hang your hat on and lean on. And I think once again, if the team in front of Skinner doesn't check out mentally, that was the other big thing, especially during Vegas. Like, you got to play as a unit, and with Coffey behind the bench and with Knobhog behind the bench, they're both rookies when it comes. Well, I shouldn't say rookies, because Paul Coffey's had a bazillion games as a player underneath his belt, but you gotta have the whole team playing in front of the goalie as well.
So if the playoffs start today, then obviously, yeah, I trust Skinner in the playoffs for sure. I mean, he's right now one of the white hottest goalies in the league right now. But having said that, we're at the 36 game mark. We have 36 more games to go. So can I just say right now that, I trust Skinner to start the playoffs? I can't really say right now because we still have a long ways to go. There's still up and down stretches to go, and hopefully the ups outweigh the downs. I agree with you, Kirk, that he has that chip on his shoulder, and competitive athletes they use that as motivation, and they use that to get them going and to get to become better. And Durst, I agree with you as well that he's earned that right to have another shot at it for sure. So I hope when we get there, we're like, I trust Stuart Skinner. And at some point, you're gonna have to make that decision. Okay, you're just gonna have to decide Stuart Skinner. That's it. So this is now our goalie, and this is who we're gonna run through. It's kind of what we did with Roley in 06, because when we picked him up, he didn't do that well the last few games of the regular season. But they just decided Roley's going to be our goalie for the playoffs. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Roll the dice. And him and Pronger basically carried us all the way there. So it can be done. Now mine was a bit more, elderly and had some more experience, and could probably draw off that to stabilize, the mental part of that game. A brief thing too, though, Kirk, you mentioned is the coaching. We did see Woodcroft get coached a few times in the playoffs, especially against LA. McKellen kind of had his number a little bit in some of the matchups and some of the, adjustments they were making. And so my fear now is Knobloch has no experience in NHL playoffs neither as a head coach. So do we run the risk of him perhaps getting out coached at certain points when he goes up against a veteran? It's also another question mark.
But you seen him here already. Like he hasn't done any panic blender moves, at least not overly. He's done it a couple times there during that first losing streak there on the East Coast there. Like he's kind of, injected, or went to the nuclear deterrent there with McDavid and Draisaitl. But I think that's where you lean on like the likes of Gully and the likes of Stewie there on the bench and just say, hey, I'm going to delegate this to the hilt, even go to Koff and say, hey, like, what's your take on this? I don't think he's going to fly blind when he goes into the playoffs. Say, hey, and even talk to your core guys, like talk to McDavid, talk to Draisaitl, hey, like, what do you guys want to do? Like, I think you just let your ponies run for the most part. And there is going to be points, just like you've seen with Woodcrofter in the last two seasons. You're gonna hit a wall eventually. But I think if you delegate to who you have on the bench, who's been there with the team for the last number of years, especially with Goldson, like, it's definitely something to think about. But I think, like I said before, I think we're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
With looking too far down the road, we got to get to the playoffs first. But it's definitely, like I said before, I hate to sound like a broken record. The whole team has to play, not just the goalie.
The one thing I'll say about Knobloch that I've noticed that is different than his predecessors is, he split up the McDavid, Nuge, Hyman line and tried to spread the wealth around. Realized very quickly that it didn't matter. The second line wasn't having success, so we got to go back to the think tank and think of something else. Meanwhile, he went back to those guys together, and then he realized, okay, Kane's struggling a little bit, so let's put him a little bit down the lineup. And Ryan McLeod and Warren Foegele are working their asses off, and they deserve a chance to play with Dry. And so they went to that, and that line has been on fire. Now all they need to do is figure out how to solidify a third line, and then all of a sudden we've got a pretty deep team. And there's something that's been happening. Well, there's something that hasn't been happening that may start to happen eventually. Is Connor Brown might actually start to put a puck in the net, once every 10 games. They've survived him being cold as ice, and eventually you think it might turn. So he's been bought a lot of time. I'll touch on this too. and to your point, Kirk, about these 8 back-to-backs coming up. I think in February and March, and maybe the end of the season in April. Maybe it is necessary to go on one hell of a run here in January to build some cushion for when they start to get taxed down the stretch and gain the ground now. Some stranger again says, Kirk, it all depends on whether they're still contending for the cup or not.
It's all I'm going to say is this: you can't think of cup or bust at this point. You just got to get to the dance. Get to the dance first. Worry about that after.
Yeah,
and like putting the cart before the horse, and there's a lot of good teams like Winnipeg. Winnipeg is on fire right now. You take a look at Colorado; they've been kind of fledgling here and there, but they're still in it. Same thing with Dallas. Like you got to take a look around as a whole. But as far as the Pacific goes, like you can definitely roll over LA right now. You can definitely have the opportunity to roll over on Vegas and really make them pay. Like I said, the only team that really hasn't been fouled yet is the Canucks. I still think that they're gonna fizzle out. I think Tocchet will wear thin on them at one point. I unfortunately, I don't see it anytime soon, especially with Demko, the way that he's playing. Like after watching him tonight there in New York, I'm just like, God damn. Like,
I got a question. I got a question for you both, really, on Demko. In the last stretch, well, really since Knobloch's taken over, the hurdle that we ran into, Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky, and Sorokin. You think Demko could be that caliber for 7-game series, where he's basically denying you a chance to get through, or is this team good enough where even if a goalie is out of his mind, and they get capable goaltending out of Skinner, can they get through that anyway?
I see yes. Right now, you can get through a team like that. But once again, like as you just said, you get goalied, and it's like it's the worst. Well, we've all seen it as fans. Like it's so frustrating. Like you run into a wall and you just can't break through whatever you do. But the one thing that Edmonton has the upper hand over Vancouver, especially, is experience. And I don't care. Like you especially if you play at home. The fans could be like that 6th, 7th, 8th guy on the ice that'll just mess with your head, and they could waffle and burn out pretty darn quick. You see it with LA, like that especially the last 2 years. We've had wobbles, but this team, like this Oilers team, is battle tested.
I kind of think Vancouver's weakness will be exploited in a playoff series. I don't think their forwards have the testicular fortitude to survive a war against our team. I really don't. I think if it was us against them, I think we get through just based on the fact that I think our upper echelon forwards are more talented than theirs, but B, I think our forwards as a group will punish their forwards, and their D will inflict some damage. They got a big D core, but I just don't think their forwards are built to survive an out and out war. And it's kind of funny that a Tocchet coach team would be more of a skill team than kind of a grit and guts kind of team. Although Elias Pettersson, I got to give the guy credit. He's playing like he's Rick Tocchet, and he's definitely not in that frame of his, but he is playing a physical style. I just don't think they're built to handle that war of attrition that a playoff series is.
Well, Bob, what do you figure about Demko? Like, is he a groin pull away from being shelved again? Like, because they're using the piss out of him. They haven't been going to DeSmith all that much as of late.
Every goalie is a groin pull away from, especially the more acrobatic ones. I think Demko is the best goalie in the world right now. Maybe I have a different name next podcast. I don't know, but like right now, for this season right now, I think he's the best goalie in the world. We got out goalie like you said by Vasilevsky, Sorokin, and Bobrovsky there. And if you add Demko to that mix, out of those 4 goalies, Demko's the best of those 4. Vasilevsky, Sorokin, Bobrovsky can all do that for 1 game against us. Vasilevsky can do that for probably 2 to 3 games against us. And I agree with you again about the Canucks there, Dursa, about their testicle fortitude. So they would have to rely on Demko to do that, to outgoalie us for 4 games, for 4 wins, right? And I don't think the Canucks have that unless Demko does that. Now, can he do it? Maybe, but that's asking a lot for a guy to do that against the 2 best players in the world in a minimal 4-game series, right?
And once again, the name of the game is load management. Like that, those extra games are going to catch up to you pretty darn quick, unless if you share the wealth, so to speak. So, but yeah, I totally agree, man. Like you can only lean on your goaltending so hard. Like, and once the wall falls down, it's pretty hard to recover because that's when the games count. That's when you don't have the Bettman sucker points to bail you out. It's
you can rely on your goalie for a playoff drive. Like we basically did that. We basically did that with Rowley, and and lots of teams have done it. But also see who they were up against. Like we're asking these guys to do it against the 2 best players in the world. Like how often did the Gretzky Oilers get out goalied like over a full game, over a full playoff series, right? They got out goalied a few games for sure, but did a goalie ever steal a series from the '80s Oilers? They lost series, but was it because the goalie played a factor? But was it because of the goalie? Like you just can't shut these guys down for them.
I don't think
Billy Smith.
I don't think Billy Smith stole a series.
No,
you got Bossy, Boston, and Trottier on that team. There's no way Billy Smith was a key component. 100% he was, but I don't think he ever stole a game, like stole a series.
Yeah. I don't think, like in my memory, I don't think you run into too many playoff series where a goalie's stealing more than 2 games out of a series. Like, I just don't think it really happens. Yeah.
Definitely helps if you have a goalie that's willing and able and capable to stop pucks.
Yeah. I mean, if a goalie
steals Hill,
if a goalie steals 1 game, it can give you a shot at winning a series, though.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Well, fellas, we've lapped the hour. We're about an hour and 8 in. This was a good one. I enjoyed the conversation, and I kind of needed it probably more than both of you just to kind of get through some of the things that are going on in my head. Hopefully next week we're talking about another, we'd be up to 10 games if they run the table till next Monday. I think there's 3 this week. So
that'd be a franchise record too.
That would
also
be
solid input from some stranger today. He had some quality remarks and questions today too. Jeez.
Yeah. No,
yes, sir.
Chats are starting to pick up. Our little show is starting to blossom. So before we make everybody upset, I think it's time to close it down. We'll catch you again next Monday. I don't think there's a game next Monday. I haven't really looked. I think it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but I'm not sure after that. We don't compete with the Oilers too many nights, but when we do, we either go before them if they're out east or after them if they're out east, or before them if they're out west here on Mondays. But Mondays are a regular night. So thanks for watching Monday Night Raw and listening on the podcast. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Amazon or Google or CastBox or iHeartRadio or Spotify, that little commercial break probably won't mean a lot to you, but enjoy the music. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week. Keep your sticks on the ice, keep reaching for the stars, and go Oilers go. Good night, everybody.